Hey everybody, how's it going? This is John Breed and it is April 5th, 2019. It is the Bristol preview show today. We have Xfinity action and Cup action at the last Great Coliseum this weekend. The Bristol Spring Race, not under the lights. It is the Bristol Day Race. So we have that to talk about today. But first, we have a lot of news to get into here today. First, want to start off by talking about the suspension of driver Austin Wayne Self. A staff report sent out by NASCAR.com reads here: driver Austin Wayne Self has been indefinitely suspended from NASCAR for violating the sanctioning body's substance abuse policy, NASCAR announced Monday. Self was found to have violated Section 12.1, actions detrimental to stock car racing, and Section 19, NASCAR's substance abuse policy of the 2019 NASCAR rulebook, according to the NASCAR penalty report. Self has made 66 career starts in NASCAR Gainer Outdoors Truck Series from 2016-2019, including 3 this season. He has 1 career top 5 finish and 5 career top 10s, including a 9th place run in this year's season opener race at Daytona International Speedway, driving the AM Racing number 22 Chevrolet. 23-year-old Self must complete the NASCAR Rotor Recovery Program before reinstatement. AM Racing, the Gander Outdoors organization owned by Self's father Tim, issued a statement after Monday's penalty news. AM Racing respects NASCAR's decision and will follow their direction. We expect Austin Wayne Self to return to the seat as quickly as possible. AM Racing will continue to operate as normal with a determination of a driver lineup set in the coming weeks. We expect to emerge from this challenge as a stronger team. Self issued a statement from his personal Twitter account Tuesday, a day after the penalty was announced. I'm not going to read the whole statement here because it's a pretty long statement, but basically he just apologizes for what happened and hopes the fans will accept his apology, asking for their grace. And he's truly upset about what happened. Basically, what I want to read here is, this is from his statement. It has been incredibly disheartening since learning of the results from the random drug test taken earlier this season at Daytona through our sanctioning body and for the news announced today. The news and positive results have caught me as a surprise. Being a driver, I am expected to be a steward for our sport, someone who pays attention to even the most minute of details, just as our race team does with our trucks in competition. Moving forward, I promise to those who will follow this journey that I will aim to the utmost of my ability to do a better job at paying close attention to what I consume and allow into my body as an athlete. I will work closely with NASCAR through this process to learn more about what has happened and to assure that I am able to return to competition as quickly as possible. So there you go. That is the update on Austin Wayne Self, and all I really have to say is it is interesting to hear him say it was a surprise that he failed his drug test, but at the same time, I'm sure there are a lot of people that want to jump to conclusions and say, well, he's probably just lying, but I don't think he's lying here. I mean, the statement he put out, he seems really sincere about it, and he seems truly upset about it, and you know, I think I do believe that, you know, he's telling the truth. I don't know why he would lie about it. I mean, if you think back to A.J. Allmendinger, who in 2012 failed a random drug test for a prescribed Adderall, and, you know, his story was that he was out one night and somebody had a energy supplement, and he was used to taking energy supplements, and he thought it was just another one of the ones he takes, and he took it, and it ended up, he didn't know it was a prescribed Adderall, and he did not know it was a banned substance. So, hey, I mean, maybe that's somewhat of the same story of Austin Wayne Self. I don't know. I guess, you know, we'll just have to find out, see what happens. But, you know, reading this statement and reading the statement from the team, it does sound like he will be back. And, yeah, I'll just have to follow this story closely, and I obviously wish Austin Wayne Self the best, and we'll hope to see him back in the truck soon. So that is the update on Austin Wayne Self. Some other news came out yesterday about Darrell Waltrip. Darrell Waltrip, who has been in the Fox Sports booth for 19 years now, announced that he is retiring from the booth at the end of the Fox Sports stint in 2019. The statement sent out by Zach Albert on NASCAR.com. Darrell Waltrip, who brought his folksy outsides personality from the driver's seat to a prodigious second run as a broadcaster, announced Thursday that this season will be his last for Fox Sports. Waltrip's final NASCAR race from the broadcast booth is scheduled for June 23rd at Sonoma Raceway. The news, later confirmed by the network, was first reported by the Nashville Tennessean. My family and friends, this is from Darrell Waltrip in his Fox release. My family and I have been talking this over the past several months, and I've decided to call 2019 my last year in the Fox Sports booth. I've been blessed to work with the team in the sport for the past 19 years, but I'm 72 and have been racing for some form more than 50 years. I'm still healthy, happy, and now a granddad, so it's time to spend more time at home with my family, although I will greatly miss my Fox family. 72-year-old Waltrip has been a fixture in the Fox Sports booth since 2001. When the network became an official broadcast partner of NASCAR. The transition to full-time broadcasting came after a successful driving career where Waltrip won 3 championships in 84 races in NASCAR's top division. He was elected to the NASCAR Hall of Fame's class of 2012. Yeah, big news this week out of the Fox Sports camp. And apparently, and I did not know this until a week or so ago, that this was rumored that he was going to be out of the Fox booth at the end of the year, but I did not hear about the rumors of this until I saw a very disgusting article that came out about him. Basically, if you hadn't read it, it basically bashes him as far as his commentary, and even brings up, his past when he was a, brash driver out on the racetrack and talking a lot of trash, and basically said he needs to be out of there. So here's my thing, everybody. And I do hear a lot of people that do not like Darrell Waltrip in the booth. And I can see their side of it, because I think as far as if you're looking for insight during the race, you really want, Jeff Gordon and Larry McReynolds are probably your best go-tos. Obviously, Mike Joy is just a play-by-play guy, and he's not given, too much insight because he's calling what he sees. But, and Darrell Waltrip, I mean, if you really listen, he does give some good insight when the cars were out there, and he's, focusing on, closing distances and who's got the better race car right now and things like that. So I really don't know why everybody has such a problem. I mean, and not only that, I mean, he brings a level of excitement that really not a lot of other commentators bring. I mean, unless you're talking about, Dale Jr. and yeah, really only other Dale Jr. is really the only other one I can think of. And I mean, every announcer in NASCAR, I think, brings an excitement level to an extent. But, Darrell Waltrip, his famous boogity, boogity, boogity. And, for whatever reason, people just think that's annoying. But it's like, it's a thing he's always done. And it's a thing that I think, if he were to just stop doing, it's like it's a tradition that he does at the beginning of every single race. So, truth be told, what I'm trying to say here is I don't know what people have such a huge problem with Darrell Waltrip, because I think he's a great announcer. Now, granted, I mean, there are times where he says some goofy stuff, but I mean, that's every commentator at some point. You don't talk about NASCAR and you don't talk about the races. You're not in a booth, 3 times a week for practice and qualifying and race day without saying something goofy. It's impossible. You know what I'm saying? It's like It's impossible. So the point of this is I really don't think people should be hating on DW, and I think Dave Moody earlier, I didn't read the full thing, but he said you guys are going to miss Darrell Waltrip, and I totally agree because Darrell Waltrip, ever since I can remember, he was the broadcast announcer that I always loved when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I really started watching regularly. Like, he was my favorite announcer. So DW will be missed, and he's a great guy, and I will enjoy the rest of his Fox tenure because it looks like we only have a little over 2 months left of DW in the booth. So no word though on who will replace him in 2020. There were some rumors of Kevin Harvick, but Kevin Harvick doesn't plan to retire just yet. I'm under the assumption it might just be Larry McReynolds again, but we'll see. Maybe they try to put somebody else in there. So yeah, very sad, but at some point you gotta decide when to go. And like DW said, he's a granddad and he wants to spend more time at home. So more power to him. We're gonna miss him, and I think everybody should be truly grateful for what DW has done for the sport. All right, so I'm about to get into the Bristol preview, but first, I want to talk about something. I've been thinking about this all week. So, and before I say this, I am not trying to call anybody out. I am not trying to bash anybody. I am not trying to degrade anybody when I talk about this. I just want to simply state my opinion on this big topic in NASCAR. So, Kyle Busch won the truck race on Friday, and I talked about how awesome of a race that was because Brett Moffitt, if you remember, Brett Moffitt almost beat Kyle Busch in that race. Brett Moffitt went up and passed him, I think, with like less than 40 laps to go. Then a caution came out. He got back in traffic after the pit stops and ended up wrecking, but it was still a very good race. And then you also remember Stuart Friesen was right there behind Kyle Busch late in the go in this race. So there's a bit of a summary of the race, but I'm not here to talk about the race. I'm here to talk about Dustin Long, who tweeted after the race. And Dustin Long, by the way, is an editor and writer for NBC Sports, for NASCAR, so he's constantly on Twitter, giving updates on things like that. So he tweeted after this race, and I'm going to read it straight from his Twitter. For those who don't like Kyle Busch winning truck races because he's beaten, quote unquote, the kids, well, Kyle was the youngest driver in the top 5 tonight. And then he rattled off Kyle Busch, Stuart Friesen, Johnny Sauter, Grant Enfinger, Matt Crafton, who, respectively, in this order, ages 33, 35, 40, 34, 42. And everybody seemed to love this tweet. And I know where Dustin was coming from with this. He was making a point, but it wasn't exactly a point. He had an idea. He had an idea of what he was trying to say. And this tweet was all in good intentions. He was trying to tell the fans that it's okay that Kyle Busch is running these truck races, which, by the way, everybody, it is, because the reality is that these Xfinity and truck drivers, I don't know how many times I have to hear that they say it's fine. They think it's fine to race with those guys because those guys can learn and improve from racing the Cup guys, i.e. Kyle Busch, because everybody really has a problem with just him running it rather than, obviously Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, Austin Dillon, Chase Elliott, whoever runs the Xfinity races. They don't win as much as Kyle Busch, so they really have a problem with just Kyle Busch running it. But point of this is, Justin Allgaier, I've heard him say it. I've heard Elliott Sadler say it. Tyler Reddick. I don't know who, maybe Ryan Blaney, I think, has said it before. That, they're fine with these. Christopher Bell is another one. They're fine with these Cup guys running these races. So this tweet, what I'm trying to get to here is, when he says this, that's not the idea. That's not the idea of these people who have a problem that Kyle runs these races. The problem, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And listen, I don't agree with these people. Kyle Busch should be allowed to run Xfinity and truck races. Okay? But the problem these people have with it is not because he's beating the kids. It's because he's beating the guys at the lower level. It doesn't matter what age they are. I've heard it however many times. Man, Kyle shouldn't go down and beat the truck guys and Xfinity guys. And they say the young guns, and they say the kids, because the majority of truck and Xfinity drivers are young drivers. Okay? So, don't believe me, go look at the Martinsville top 5. The Martinsville top 5 was Kyle Busch, it was Ben Rhodes, Ross Chastain, I think Myatt Snider was like 6th, Stuart Friesen was up there, and then go to the week before that. It's pretty much the same thing, all these drivers that are younger than Kyle Busch. So this point that Dustin Long is making, it really makes no sense. And Jeb Burton tweeted, then the rest, he's referring to like the rest of the top 10, are like 18, 19, 18, 19, 20. Exactly. Exactly. But the reality is yes, like I said, Dustin Long, he had a great idea. He was trying to explain why it's okay. Okay? And unfortunately, this got fed to the Fox group on Sunday, and they said it on the Cup race. The problem with this point is you're just going to make people even more mad. You're going to make people more mad because this point really doesn't make a lot of sense. It's an idea, but it really doesn't make a lot of sense. Because yes, Stuart Friesen, Johnny Sauter, Grant Enfinger, Matt Crafton, they're all older than Kyle Busch. But they are not at the level of talent that Kyle Busch is. Stuart Friesen has only been racing since 2010, I think. You know, he's only been racing for so many years. He's only been in NASCAR for like 2 or 3 years now. So you cannot compare that and act like, well, you know, since Stuart Friesen's older, he has more experience than Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has been racing since he was a kid with his brother on the dirt tracks. So this point does not make any sense. And I will make a point that does make sense. And this is what they should have said. They should have said that Brett Moffitt in the Texas race almost beat Kyle Busch. He went up and he passed Kyle Busch with less than 40 laps to go. He was beating Kyle Busch, the former Cup champion, the winner of 200-plus races across all 3 series. He went up and he passed him. He was passing him on restarts. He was holding him off on restarts. 2 weeks before that, Ross Chastain got out in front. Kyle Busch had a penalty. Ross Chastain was leading the race. If you remember that battle was so good for the lead for like 10 laps. It took Kyle like 10 laps to finally get by Ross Chastain. If somebody would have tweeted that, then that's a perfect point. But this point is only going to get people more mad because it doesn't make any sense. But if you would have pointed out that Brett Moffitt and Ross Chastain almost beat Kyle, people would have been like, well, you know what? Maybe it's all right. Because, yes, Kyle Busch, yes, he still won, but he's still one of the greatest drivers out there. So, of course, he still won. But, and not only that, if you mention that, that's going to give Brett Moffitt and Ross Chastain some extra stock. It's going to give them a boost. Because, you know what? Say you just watch the Cup races, right? And Fox Sports, they point this out during the race. They say, well, Kyle was the youngest driver in the top 5. If you would have mentioned, you know what, Brett Moffitt, he had a handful with Brett Moffitt Friday night in the truck race, and he almost lost. If you would have mentioned that, it would have been far better because, you know what, maybe somebody was like, maybe I should go watch this truck race. Who's this Brett Moffitt guy? And then you can also mention, Brett Moffitt, the defending Truck Series champion. You can jump on that bandwagon too. Ross Chastain. You can mention that he was running hard with Kyle Busch. He was, door to door with him, having a great race with him. That gives him some extra stock. And then you start promoting these younger drivers, but this point does not make any sense. This point is only going to infuriate people more because, yes, like all the other drivers behind, I don't have the top 10 up, but like all the other drivers behind him were 20-some years old. So the point makes no sense. And like I said, Dustin Long, I know what he was doing. I know he was trying to tell these people that it's okay, that it's all right that Kyle Busch is running these truck races, which, as I just mentioned, it is okay. But you have to make a better point than this because, next race he runs, let's say I don't know if he is yet, but let's say he runs a truck race at Dover. And the top 5 is, Kyle Busch, Ben Rhodes, Todd Gilliland, Harrison Burton, and Ross Chastain. What is your point then? Then he's the oldest. He's the oldest. So, like I said, this point does not make any sense. If he would have said, he was beating the kids, well, you know what? You should have mentioned that Brett Moffitt nearly beat him. That was the race. Had that last caution not come out, I think Brett Moffitt would have won. He was pulling away from Kyle Busch, the former Truck Series Cup champion, all-time lead-in winner in the Truck Series. That would promote these younger drivers and make them into these big stars where people would get more interested in the Truck Series. But this tweet, it's not going to get people interested in the Truck Series. I can guarantee it. So anyway, that is my opinion on that. I think they should have mentioned that. And you know what? Maybe they will. Maybe the next truck race, they'll talk about Brett Moffitt during qualifying. They say, man, he went up and passed Kyle Busch a couple weeks ago. Then I'll be fine with it. But unfortunately, this stat got word got out on Fox, and they spewed it out, and it is what it is. And yeah, I just think that would have been a better point, and it would have been a better point because of mentioning that these drivers, they're fine with these guys running these races. That's what I have to say about it. But anyway, let's get into Xfinity at Bristol. It is Saturday, tomorrow. There are no Cup drivers running this Xfinity race, so it is going to be an Xfinity contest to see who gets the win. And obviously, I think the favorite is Christopher Bell, more likely than not. And I'm actually having trouble remembering who won this race last year. Let's see. But as far as my pick goes, I think it is hard to bet against Christopher Bell. I just think he's good on those short tracks. He won Richmond last year. He swept both Richmond Xfinity races last year. So it is very hard to bet against him. So my pick is Christopher Bell. I think he will be getting his second victory of 2019. Remember, he won last at Atlanta. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I think Tyler Reddick, who has been on a strong run as of late, is going to be up there as well. And, sorry, I'm still looking for the stat, everybody. Bear with me. The Fitzgerald, I'm reading it. Fitzgerald Glider Kits 300. That's what I was reading, everybody. It is the Alsco 300. And last year's winner, Ryan Preece. That's right. Ryan Preece in the 18 car won that race. So, actually, the past 3 Bristol Xfinity April races have been won by Joe Gibbs. Eric Jones won it in 16 and 17. So, yeah, my pick is Christopher Bell. I think he's going to win the race. I think Tyler Reddick is going to have another strong run as well. Look for Justin Allgaier to be up there. We know Justin Allgaier likes these smaller racetracks. He won, in fact, his first career Xfinity win came back in 2010 with Team Penske. So look for Allgaier to have a good run too. And Michael Annett, it's going to be a big question whether or not Michael Annett can continue this really strong season he's having. I mean, that win at Daytona has really propelled him to some good runs as of late. And, as a matter of fact, I think he would really be a dark horse for the Final Four right now. I think if you're looking at the best 4 drivers right now in the Xfinity Series, I think you should look no further than Christopher Bell, obviously. I know he had a few bad weeks, but I think Christopher Bell. I think Tyler Reddick, no question. He's strong again, looking to defend his title. I think Cole Custer is definitely up there as well. He's got a win at California. And I think Michael Annett, I mean, he has had some strong runs, and I'm looking at his finishes here. He had a 6th last week in Texas, a 13th at California, an 8th at Phoenix, a 5th at Las Vegas, and a 12th in Atlanta, and, of course, a win at Daytona. So, I mean, major improvements from Michael Annett other than his first 2 seasons at Junior Motorsports. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Justin Allgaier will have something to say about that. I think those two will be battling out for like 4th best team this year, but I think the 3 best teams right now in the Xfinity Series are Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and Cole Custer, which, of course, all 3 of them were in the championship for last year. So, yeah, they are all picking up right where they left off. So, there you go. So, Christopher Bell, I think, gets the win in Bristol. And we now move to the Cup race. The Food City 500. The Rain Fest, I like to call it now, because the past 2 seasons in this race, the race has been postponed to a Monday. And unfortunately, checking the weather, it looks like it may get rained out again. So we'll have to see what happens with that. And not even to mention that, 2014, 2015, the race would be delayed and would be finished later in the night. So it's a pretty big rain fest down there in Bristol as of late. So, and I've been to Bristol, and that weather is weird, man. It's like, it'd be raining for like 4 minutes, pouring down rain, and then all of a sudden it'll just stop. And then it'll come back like 2 minutes later. It's a really weird weather system. If you've been to Bristol, you know what I'm talking about. So Bristol is this weekend, and the Busch brothers won both Bristol races last year. Kyle Busch won the April race. Kurt Busch won the August race. So they are looking to add to their Bristol legacy. And also, so I mentioned after Martinsville, when Jimmy Johnson got a 24th place finish, I said, it's time to hit the panic button if you're Jimmy Johnson and company. And boy, was I proven wrong, because Jimmy Johnson came out at Texas. He got the pole. He led a lot of laps. He fell back a bit, 13th, 14th place. He worked through it, and he came out with a top 5, his first top 5 of the year, 3rd top 10 for him. Boy, was I proven wrong. So, now granted, it is just one race. It is just one race that Jimmy Johnson finished in the top 5 in. But I tell you, if that tells you anything, it looks like Jimmy Johnson and that team is going to step up. And Bristol, in recent years, Jimmy Johnson has been pretty solid at Bristol. He won this race 2 years ago, and he had a strong run last year. I can't exactly remember where he finished, but I recall he had a pretty strong run that day as well. So look for Jimmy Johnson to be strong. Obviously, Team Penske and Joe Gibbs, through 7 races, they are still the only 2 teams to win. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Brad Keselowski both have 2 wins apiece, as well as, of course, Joey Logano at Las Vegas. And who am I leaving out here? That's it, I think. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I just want to be sure on that. Yes, 7 races through, and those are your 4 different winners: Logano, Keselowski, Hamlin, and Kyle Busch. So we go to Bristol, and Bristol's obviously not like any other racetrack we go to. It's a half-mile bull ring. It's fast, provides a lot of close corners racing. And here's the thing. I think Bristol is going to get a shakeup this weekend like we haven't seen in 2019. And I think the Penske-Gibbs, this dominance that is going on between them in these first 7 races, it's going to end this weekend in Bristol. And I've been trying to claim this for a few weeks now. I've been picking Bowyer for Martinsville. I picked Harvick for Texas. Oh, no, I didn't pick Bowyer for Martinsville. I picked him for California. And I picked Harvick for Texas. I picked Truex Jr. for Martinsville. That's right. But I think that saga comes to an end this weekend because the winner of the Food City 500, my prediction, is Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott. No, I'm not picking Jimmy Johnson this week. I know I said he proved me wrong, but one step at a time. I don't think Jimmy Johnson gets the win this week. I think Chase Elliott gets it because when you come to Bristol, ever since Chase's rookie year, he's always run strong there. He's led a lot of laps there, and he's been close to a win a few times here. So I think he was second at Martinsville. He was 13th at Texas, and he's running pretty strong. I wouldn't say strong. He's running solid. But you go to a place that Chase Elliott likes, and I think he's going to be a contender. So my prediction is Chase Elliott. I say Chase Elliott gets the win in the Food City 500. I think Jimmy Johnson's going to have a pretty strong run as well. As far as the other 2 Hendrick cars, Alex Bowman's coming off an 18th at Texas. Not so sure how well he's going to run in Bristol. I think he'll do all right. William Byron, let's flip a coin on that one, whether or not he is going to be running well. Well, he is coming off a 6th place at Texas, but it'll be hard to tell whether he runs strong or not, but we'll see. Eric Jones coming off a top 5 finish at Texas after spinning out early in that race last week, if you recall. And Eric Jones loves Bristol. He has a 2nd place finish there. He has 2 Xfinity wins there. So if you're looking for a dark horse, maybe even possibly for a win, but a top 10 nonetheless, I think is coming for Eric Jones this week. And I think one of the other big stories is how Stewart-Haas Racing, at this point last year, had 4 wins in the bag, and they come to this race this year, and they are still looking for their first win of the season. My prediction for the Stewart-Haas team is that Eric Almirola will finish the highest of the Haas racing cars. And I think he and Clint Bowyer probably both get a top 10. I think Harvick and Daniel Suarez probably just outside the top 10, around the 12th to 16th range. Obviously, Suarez is coming off a strong 3rd place finish. So, I don't know. He doesn't run all that strong at the short tracks, but a matter of fact, he did finish 10th at Martinsville, but Martinsville is obviously a lot different from Bristol, so we'll see if he can get that done. If he can get a top 10, it'll be his 4th top 10 this year. And let's see, Austin Dillon has been running pretty solid in recent weeks. After I mentioned, I kept harping on the fact at one point that Richard Childress was still looking for the first top 15 of the year. And since then, Austin Dillon's 10th place at California, which was their first top 10 and top 15 of the year. He followed that up with back-to-back top 15 finishes, 11th at Martinsville, 14th at Texas. So we'll see if he can keep that little bit of strong momentum going. Obviously, the Team Penske cars and the Joe Gibbs cars will be up there in some sort of form or faction. Martin Truex Jr., remember, still looking for that first short track win. I really thought he was going to get it done in Martinsville. So obviously watch for him. Obviously you have to watch for Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch. Both Busch brothers will be probably up there somewhere. Denny Hamlin, another force to be reckoned with on short tracks. Joey Logano as well, multi-time Bristol winner. So yeah, we'll see how they do. Brad Keselowski, obviously a former Bristol winner. Be very interesting. Oh, also Ryan Blaney. Can't go without mentioning Ryan Blaney. If you remember that Bristol Spring race last year, I mean, it looked like he was going to have a pretty dominant day at Bristol, and then ended up getting in an incident in that race, crashing out from the lead, I believe, or he was second place maybe, but he was up there in the top two and he wrecked. So watch for Ryan Blaney as well. But I think they're all going to be following Chase Elliott. And Chase Elliott is going to get his first win of 2019 and his fourth career Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series win. That's going to do it for me today, everybody. I will be back on Monday to review the Bristol weekend. Hopefully not plagued by rain, but it looks like it's a pretty good chance of that happening. But hopefully I'll be back here talking on Monday. If the race does get rained out, of course, I will watch the race on Monday. The review show will be Wednesday. So keep that in mind. And that is it. I am out, everybody. Everybody have a good day.